The Cubase selected channel grid from MetaGrid Pro features transport controls, gesture pads, and track states that are certain to turn you into a high-speed Cubase user. Let's dive in. We have two very, very powerful gesture pads on this grid that allow you to do so many really cool things. So let's focus on the topmost gesture pad, which offers lots of really cool things you can do with the selected channel, such as tapping once to bring up the channel settings, tapping again to close that, tapping with two fingers to bring up the instrument settings, tapping again to close. You can very quickly pan this channel hard left or hard right by swiping left or right. Or if you want to reset the panning to the center, all you have to do is double tap this gesture pad. Then I can bring the level of this channel all the way down by swiping down and reset it to unity by swiping up. So that's the first gesture pad, but the second one has so much more functionality, and we'll go over that in great detail as well. We can tap the gesture pad to start or stop playback. We can double tap it to play it from the selection start. We can pan or swipe left or right on this to move the cursor one way or the other. And we can go to bars if we want to absolutely move it a bar at a time, if my grid is set to something different, or I can select frames if I want to do much smaller movements. I can swipe down to copy anything that is selected, move over, and then swipe up to paste that selection. Now with two fingers, I can tap to record or turn record off. But if I double tap it, it will stop playback, undo, go to the left locator, and start recording again. You can pan or swipe left or right with two fingers to move to different markers in your session. You can swipe up with two fingers to redo and swipe down to undo. Now with the wide two-finger gesture, you can tap it to turn on or off your metronome, double tap it to turn on or off your pre-count. You can pan left or right in order to move your loop range. You can also do that with three fingers. Swipe left to go to your project start, but then swiping left with three fingers moves you to your left locator. Additional functions that you can perform with three fingers is you can tap to turn on or off your cycle. If you have an object selected, you can double tap with three fingers to loop that selection, and then you can swipe down to set your locators to the selection. Now that's all the cool things you can do in grid mode, bars mode, or frame mode, but if we switch this to move, we can nudge any selection forward or backward by panning with one finger. Using two fingers, we'll trim the start, and using three fingers, we'll trim the end. Now in Q mode, this is going to have to do with your quantization and grid settings. So with one finger, you can pan left or right, and it will select the next or previous quantized setting. And then swiping up or down in Q mode is going to change your grid type. The next mode on this gesture pad is fade, and these functions will be useful if you have audio selected. So let's go and select some audio in our session. Now panning with one finger in fade mode will adjust my fade in time. With two fingers, it will adjust my fade out time. Now in volume mode, panning left or right is going to increase or decrease the event volume. So as we've discovered, the Cubase selected channel grid for MetaGrid Pro is ultra powerful. But in the next video, we'll look at additional functionality that have to do with your sends, your inserts, and so much more.